Okay, let's talk about student loans. White House says restarting student loans is a high priority, sparking outrage. Okay, Tom, this is a story you have opinions on. Let me read it first, and then you can get right into it. It's a truth. Is that the one? Yes, it is. Okay, White House Secretary Jen Psaki recently announced that the Biden administration is not planning on extending the student loan payment pause, sparking outrage among debt advocates and people who have struggled with student loan repayments for years. The administration is planning to allow the student debt payments pause to expire at the end of January. The pause, which was implemented to aid borrowers as the economy was rocked by the pandemic, has been in place since March of 2020. I'm angry at Biden's backtracking on key pillars he ran on. Cancellation. I'm fearing what the end of the moratorium will do for so many people, tweeted one user. Other Twitter user noted that allowing repayments to start during a critical election year is a poor strategy for a nation's top Democrat, which she's right. So thoughts, Tom, what do you think about this?
Well, there's like three angles to this. And the first angle there is I think is political. And then the other one has to do with large banking and the big numbers that you talk about. Right now, there's $1.7 trillion of student loans that is held by a collective sum of about 43 million students that ran those up. So the first thing you had is Biden ran a campaign promise when he was not yet the nominee for president. And he was fighting against the Bernie group that was completely locked in with Bernie and the Elizabeth group, Elizabeth Warren. And so he said, if I'm elected, I will cancel half of the student loan for the lower half of more, economically, below some line students. Half of them. Okay, good. Well, that would be $800 billion. And we just approved a $2.5 trillion debt increase. So where are you going to get the other $800 billion from? It would basically be TARP for those that are carrying it. You know what the big three are? Navient, Wells Fargo, and Discover hold 40% of the student loan debt. So if you're canceling the debt, what you have to do something for not the servicers, but you got to do something for the banking industry. And guess what? That would impact the size of BBB, and that would also impact the size of the recent increase on the debt limit, because it's all related. This $800 billion is going to come from there it is, 1.73 in student loan. Yeah. And then you'll find in there about 44 million Americans that are carrying that.
Yep, 43.2.
Yep. So it's
a big number.
So the first problem is, I'm not unhappy to see a civil war inside the Democratic Party about this, because this is when all the independents, moderates, and the Republicans kind of sit this one out, and they're watching the Democratic Party have a civil war.
You know what's the problem with giving things away to people for free? You know what's the problem with giving money or things away to people for free?
They just expect more.
They come back.
Somebody else's money?
You eventually have to stop.
That's correct.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So, for example, I had a friend of mine, best friend in the world. We went to first grade together, high school together, military, everything.
No cocaine?
No cocaine. This guy is not a cocaine guy, no. So, best friend in the world.
Think about that. Okay.
Yeah, but because it's other things. But anyways, so.
But the friend at the other end of the hall was the marijuana guy.
Jackson's, man, I miss that guy so much. If he finds this, I'd invite him to tell these stories because he's that funny. Okay, Tom, stop. Okay, so.
That's my bong song.
So anyway, I'm talking to this guy, and he says, Pat, I'm going through tough times. Okay, never forget this. I'm going through tough times. I said, what are you going through? He said, I can't pay the office rent. I said, no problem. I got you this month, on me. 30 days later, he makes money. He buys a nice $4,000 or $5,000 engagement ring for his girl. Rent comes. He says, I'm struggling as well. I said, bro, you just made, I know how much money you made.
Yeah.
He says, no, one more month. So I said, all right, one more month. So at this point, I'm getting the good feeling of being a good friend because he likes me. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, wow, this is so awesome. What a great friendship we have here, right? I'm bailing my friend out. 2 months, 3 months. It ends up being 8 months. 8 months later, he hasn't paid rent. Then I have to tell him to do what? The friend, has to evict him. I have to tell him, you cannot be in this office anymore. After 8 months of not paying rent and evicting him, guess who became the enemy? I'm the bad guy.
And he went nuclear.
You know, he went nuclear. You know what my dad told me? Here's what my dad told me. He says, Pat, you're about to start making money. This is 13 years ago, 14 years ago. I'm 27 years old, so 16 years ago. He says, you're about to start making money. He says, when you start making real money, everyone's going to call you. You have to have a basic rule when people call you for money. I said, what's that? He said, when people call you, they'll say, hey, I need to borrow $5,000. He says, never lend them $5,000 because the fastest way to lose a friend or relative.
That's right.
He said, instead, say the following. You need $5,000? You want to borrow $5,000? I can't give you $5,000. However, I can give you $300 and you never have to pay it back. So here's the, no, but I need $5,000. I totally get it. But the difference is I don't want to hurt our friendship.
Right.
So instead of me loaning you $5,000, here's $300, but never have to worry about paying it back. It's such a confusing situation because I still helped and you can't walk away upset.
Right.
And I'm still like helping out. So you kind of, it's kind of like this. It's like, okay,
sure.
You know what I mean? You just kind of walk away. Mm-hmm. I think Dems have given so much that eventually you have to stop giving them money and they're going to turn against you.
You had an
just
interview
how
with somebody, was it Chaz, who said when he made a little bit of money, he called all of his friends and he
I need a $30,000 loan.
$30,000 loan. So Chaz Palminteri made a bunch of money, apparently. You know, good. Yeah. He was working on projects. He earned it. He was a great actor and getting good roles and getting good paydays. So he said, to preempt what would happen in Hollywood, where people ask him, hey, $30,000, can I borrow $30,000? I got a script, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to get a development deal, blah, 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 blah. Instead of that, what he did, he called all of his friends, asked if he could borrow $20,000, and then they would assume...
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant. That is
so good,
and then they didn't call me.
A preemptive strike.
He's about to get $1 million check. He calls all his friends, borrow him for $30,000. They all say no.
That's brilliant.
Then he gets the $1 million.
Oh,
then when they called, they said, bro,
that's
you
good.
said no, I can't do it. So
and a great actor can pull that off.
Yeah.
When I think of Chaz Palminteri, I just him dropping the coffee cup in Usual Suspects when he sees the names on the board.
And the bottom of the coffee cup said,
the name of the company. Yeah, just
Kobayashi.
So good.
yeah. Okay, cool. Let's continue.
Pat, you're absolutely right. And so to close, you know, on student loans, you have a Democrat civil war, number one. Number two, you can't throw another $800 billion on the economy. And number three, now you have a voting bloc that feels that they got screwed because they were promised something and it's not there.
Here's why, final caveat. What about the people that are going to school now? I mean, are they going to be forgiven going forward in perpetuity? I mean, what if you're going to college in 2 years and you have to take out loans?
Yep.
You know, everybody else before you had it wiped away, but you're going to be faced with this.
I'm telling you, this creates such a big rift and a division. It's not a pretty sight because you eventually have to say no. This is why you have to position yourself and no. Yeah. If you start now, it's just a matter of time before they hate you.
We could go deep on this.
Starting January the 15th. January the 15th is the first month, the first day that people aren't going to get the child tax credit. January the 31st is when they find out that they're also not getting an income tax refund. So there's going to be a lot of animosity before we get to the first month of the year in the Democratic Party among the constituency that they're trying to buy their votes.
Pat, we could go deep on this an entire podcast. Maybe we should sometime because it's also the inflation that's happened in the cost of tuition is because the universities know they're only accepting 10% of what comes in, so there's no problem with the demand. And they keep raising it because they know that the federal government is backing the student loans.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.